Hello and welcome to the programme. Now, on December the 15th, the Synod of the Ukrainian Orthodox Churches chose the Metropolitan of the United Church. His name is Epiphanios. Now, what's next? How will the Unified Ukrainian Church function, and what will change in the lives of Ukrainian parishioners? Now, I'm pleased to say, to talk more about this, we are joined in the studio today by Lyudmyla Filipovych. She is the head of the Religious Studies Department at the Institute of Philosophy. Hello, thank you so much for coming in.
Hello, me too.
So before we start talking about how significant this event was, and it was very significant, we have a soundbite from the President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, at that event. So let's have a listen now.
Okay, nice.
Слава Богу и слава Україні!
Glory to God and glory to Ukraine. Congratulations to all with the creation of the Ukrainian Autocephalous Orthodox Church. On December 15th, I ask all those who are watching us now in our country and around the world, remember this well. This is the day that will become or already became a part of Ukraine's history as a sacred day, the day of the creation of the Ukrainian Autocephalous Orthodox Church, the day of absolute acquisition of Ukrainian independence from Russia. What is this church? This is a church without Putin. What is this church? This is a church without Patriarch Kirill. What is this church? This is a church without praying for the Russian authorities and the Russian army.
So there we go. There was a clip there from Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, who was speaking on December the 15th. You were there.
Yes.
It must have been such a historic occasion for you. How did you feel just being in the crowd?
Great. Like a believer of this church and like the scholar, because I'm not only involved in this process, but I try to interpret, to comment this process, to realize, to understand what we have that day. And I think that we have a historic day, because for many years, since maybe from the 17th century, when we lost our independent status for our church, Ukrainians dreamed to back these status. And you know maybe about the historical event in 1917, 1918.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, we tried to that time to back our position, but unfortunately we could not do in that time. And our 100 years we could repeat our attempts, and I think that we are very, very successful this time. This is epoch event, and we will study this day in some years, and we'll write in our handbook about this event.
And can you tell me, perhaps for our viewers as well out there who are not so informed about the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, how significant was this particular event, selecting the new leader, and also what impact do you think that's going to have in the day-to-day life of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church now?
I think that our new church, this is the finish of the very, very complicated process of our identification. From 1991, when we became the independent state, independent nation, we could not finish this process by establish the independent church. And now we have this church, and we could be very happy that our spiritual life will be long without, as Poroshenko say, without Putin, without Kirill, without impact and influence from the Moscow Patriarchate. But not for all Ukrainians, only for those who decided to be a part of this unification church. But you know that we have a lot of those parishes that belong to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Moscow Patriarchate, and for these people I think that very difficult time of election, how to be in this situation and to adopt or not to adopt this new church.
Actually, do you know, that actually leads into my next question. What happens next with the Moscow Patriarchate? What is the process now of deciding which churches want to belong to the new local church and perhaps which churches want to stay with the Moscow Patriarchate. How does that process go?
I have no idea about this, and maybe only God. He has his own plan for Ukrainians. What it could be and will be happen. I think we need to give time for those who decided to be with Moscow Patriarchate, because it's very complicated process to change our consciousness. It may be the hardest process to change our mind. And we need to understand that the time is different from the post-communist, post-Soviet period, and we begin our new life like an independent state, independent nation, independent church.
Which was the same for other countries as well. When you look at the autocephaly of Poland, for example, it was exactly the same.
Bulgaria or Romania or in other countries. Yes, if we recognize ourselves like Orthodox people, not all, but the main part of Ukrainians. Yes, we wish and we wait for our independent states.
Yeah, and you're an expert on these matters. What is the actual difference, really, between the Kiev Patriarchate and the Moscow Patriarchate?
Oh, it's very long
Can you give us some examples, for example?
Yes, maybe first character, this is the language of liturgy, because Russian Orthodox Church, they use Russian language, or how we say Old Slavonic language, Old Church Slavonic language, but Ukrainian churches, they use Ukrainian language. It doesn't matter, because we decided that God understands every language if you address to Him. So the next one, the Ukrainian church and the liturgy is more openly for the participants of liturgy. I know that the priest comes in front of the parishes and address direct to the faces, and not back, and many others character which differ Ukrainian and Russian Orthodox Church.
A lot of Ukrainian leaders and officials were saying that this new local church will actually mean more national security, to put it in a broader context.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, how do you think that the Russian Orthodox Church actually used the Moscow wing, the Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine, to actually spread influence? What channels did this go through?
I think that not only about church issue, they talk with the believers, but they maybe explain the policy of Russia and the Ukrainian, and I know that they comment in different way the event on the eastern part of Ukraine, because they do not talk about aggression, about war. They talk about civic war, internal war in Ukraine, about annexion of Crimea, like a law connection to the Russian state, and many other things. They, for example, do not agree with the new policy of our government and our president, so they decided that this is evil power and many other things.
Yeah. Were you surprised to see the president at the meeting last weekend?
Yeah.
I mean, because for me, I saw a lot of photos of this, and he was at the top of the table. Obviously, he didn't have a voting right. He wasn't actually involved in the election, but he was quite predominantly involved in this process. What do you think of that?
You see, this is a very controversial question, because many of us decided that this is not the internal church act, only the politician for election process. But I think that in Ukraine we have a very unique situation when state supports church and church supports state. It's normal for Orthodox state because we have and we base our life such principle like Caesaropapism. You maybe know and listen about such principle. All our history connect with the state and our spiritual leaders and our civic leaders. They have some kind of symphony in their relations. So it's not new for us. But maybe for new church in the future, we need to have a distance between state and church because they have a partner relations, but a different functions for state and for the church.
And are there any differences between the churches which did unite into this new united local church?
I think so.
And how did they sort of come to agree on their disagreements?
It depends from the believers, how they decide and how they influence on their leaders, how they see the situation. I think that now in our new situation after revolution of dignity, when the civic society appearance in our country, we could use our energy of mass, of energy of our people. They are not passive now in the history, and they understand that they're a real part of this process. So it depends from us.
Yes, and it was a historic occasion, but also there's going to be another historic occasion on January the 6th as well, when the Tomos is officially granted.
Yes.
Perhaps in plain English, what does this mean? So we had the election of the new leaders now of the United Ukrainian Church. So is this the final step?
No. This is like a finish of one of a period of this process. It's very important step of Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, because we need a special document, a declaration, a paper where our all rights, like the independent church, will be accepted. So after that, we only begin our history like a new church, common church, which unite the different part of our Orthodox life. Okay, well, it's a great place to end the interview on. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was Lyudmyla Filipovych. She is the head of the Religious Studies Department at the Institute of Philosophy. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.